Welcome to the 32nd election in American history.
It was held on Tuesday, November 5th, 1912, and the Republican Party was on the verge of collapse. The party split began with the Payne-Aldrich Act of 1909. It overall lowered most tariffs, with most progressives liking high tariffs, which angered them. This would start the battle between progressive Republicans and conservative Republicans. Furthermore, the Ballinger-Pinchot scandal occurred. Ballinger, the Secretary of the Interior, was caught red-handed by Roosevelt's friend Pinchot. Taft instead fired Pinchot, and this would be the last straw for progressives, which would contribute to the split within the Republican Party. Also, Taft would trust bust even more monopolies than Theodore. But this enraged Roosevelt since he believed some trusts were good, unlike Taft. Apart from the Republican schism, Taft was able to get Congress to pass the 16th Amendment. This allowed the federal government to collect an income tax from all Americans. For SCOTUS News, Edward Douglass White becomes the 9th Chief Justice after Melville Fuller died from a stroke. And for breaking news from The Atlantic, the sinking of the Titanic occurred on April 1912, and roughly 1,500 would perish in this tragedy, one of them being Army officer Archibald Butt, a great friend and advisor of President Roosevelt and William Howard Taft.
For the election, the Republican National Convention was held in Chicago, with the frontrunner at the start being former President Theodore Roosevelt, who was running for an unprecedented third term, and of course incumbent President Taft was right behind Roosevelt. The party was split in half like never before, and Taft went on to barely win the nomination alongside Vice President Sherman, but Roosevelt himself claimed that many delegations were fraudulently seated. This outcome enraged Roosevelt fans to the core, and after this they formed the Progressive Bull Moose Party. The Progressives held their national convention weeks later, also in Chicago, formally nominating Theodore Roosevelt as the party's nominee for president, with progressive California Governor Hiram Johnson as his running mate for this unique election in 1912. While the Democratic National Convention was held in Baltimore, with the leading nominee at the start being House Speaker from Missouri, Champ Clark, alongside New Jersey Governor Woodrow Wilson just behind Clark. But after Clark narrowly failed to get a delegate majority, William Jennings Bryan made his most important decision of his career and endorsed Woodrow Wilson for president, and Indiana Governor Thomas R. Marshall became Wilson's running mate. Democrats had the advantage of being under one banner, unlike the Republicans. But wait, there is more. The Socialist Party, seeing all the chaos, nominated famous orator from Indiana Eugene Debs, with Milwaukee Mayor Emil Seidel as the party's pick for vice president. They saw this opportunity as a way to get electoral votes for the first time. This four-way campaign trail would be one for the history books. Roosevelt would campaign on his new nationalism platform against Woodrow Wilson's similar New Freedom plan. But for breaking news in the campaign trail, the assassination attempt on Theodore Roosevelt occurred in October. In the middle of a speech, Roosevelt would get shot, and the bullet would get lodged in Roosevelt's chest. Afterwards, Roosevelt continued his hour-long plus speech, with him only having to take a break from the campaign trail. For more tragic news, the death of Vice President Sherman occurred, and Sherman died from a kidney disease. He was replaced by Columbia University President Nicholas Butler, while Wilson and the Democrats would thrive in the midst of the chaos. And the winner was Woodrow Wilson won, becoming the 28th president in American history. Wilson won big with 435 electoral votes and 41.84% of the vote, and Thomas R. Marshall became the 28th vice president in American history. Former President Roosevelt got 88 electoral votes and 27.40% of the vote, while Taft and the Republicans embarrassingly only got 8 electoral votes, getting 25 23.17%. And finally, Eugene Debs and the Socialists got 5.99% of the vote. The Republican schism left Taft having the worst performance of any incumbent president ever, while Woodrow Wilson carried a record-breaking 40 states.
In the Senate, the Democrats won, winning 51 out of the 96 seats, 2 over the threshold. For the House, the Democrats won here again, winning 289 seats, 71 over the threshold. Champ Clark, a Southern Democrat from Missouri, stayed as the 36th Speaker of the House.
Wilson took his oath of office on Tuesday, March 4th, 1913. Wilson spoke about the transfer of power between parties, talking about the purity and beauty of the American people, blaming past administrations for being immoral, and for there to be self-sufficiency and morality at last. It was now time for Wilson to take the progressive mantle, and America was on the verge of a new era in politics, with the horrors of the Great War just over the horizon. And thus the 32nd election in American history came to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.